How can I evaluate my English language skills? There are many ways, one of which you can visit an English learning center and ask them to evaluate you. They're going to give you a placement test and they're going to ask you to pay some fee or maybe sign up for a course. Some things that we might not want, we just need to be evaluated. Or you can take an online test, answer some questions, and there you go, results. I am not in favor of both methods because sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, you can tell how much you can hear. Nobody else can tell how much you can hear, how much you can understand, sometimes you have questions that you don't simply ask, you don't know how to put them. So the best person to evaluate you is yourself. So I'd like to share with you today how you would do it yourself without online tests and without courses. So let's do it. Hello YouTube, this is Islam and right into it. Language is 4 parts. We all know that. Reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So we need to evaluate each one of those separately, individually. Let's talk about listening first. I'd like to think of listening as 2 parts. Listening and comprehension or understanding. So when you watch a video, how much do you hear? Back in the time I did this, I picked a movie and I did not pick any subtitles. It was just the movie without subtitles. And I would write down every single word they said. And I was expecting to watch the whole movie and write everything they say, but turned out that people speak a lot. So I stopped at minute 10 as far as I remember, which was a lot, and I started counting how many words I got right, I heard properly, and how many words they said, to measure how many words I missed. So I calculated that and I figured that, alright, so my listening skill is that number out of that number. The percentage is like 70%, 60%, 50%. So you can do the same and you will be able to tell how much you hear when people speak. Remember that when you listen, if you are measuring listening, you are not measuring understanding. You are trying to hear what people say without paying attention to what you understood. Those are 2 different things. Sometimes we can understand what people say without actually hearing what they said. Sometimes we hear what people say and we still don't understand what they said. So they are 2 different skills. Now we measured listening. Let's repeat the same thing. It should be a different video because you already picked up on some of what happened in the first video. Pick up a different video and you can have subtitles, do whatever you want, but keep your mind focused on comprehending what's happening, understanding without necessarily listening or hearing everything. And give it a rough estimation. How much did you understand? Even it would be okay if you watch the video again and then compare how much did you understand the first time roughly and how much did you understand the second time. So 70%, 60%, that is your comprehension skill. So combine both of them, listening and comprehension, that is your listening skill. So my evaluation of my own listening skill is that percentage, and that's it. So now you measured listening. Let's move on to the second one. Second one is reading. I'd like to think of reading as 2 things, reading and vocabulary. You might want to add pronunciation in there as well. So when you read, there are words that you simply can't say out loud. There are phrases that you cannot continuously say without stopping. So like, try to measure how often do you stop? How often do you pause to read it slowly? How often do you not know how to pronounce a single word? How often do you stop? How often do you think, what is that I am seeing? How often do you mumble and blab about something you are reading? And how many words do you know? How many words you do not know? And it is preferred that you have a record of the same passage that you are reading, and then listen to that record once after you finish reading yourself, and compare, make a comparison between how you read and how the other person read the passage, and give yourself a percentage in comparison. Again, it could be a rough estimation, but I'd like to think of it as somewhat accurate. So this is it. This is your percentage in reading. Third one is writing, and it is very simple actually. Just write an article or a short story and have it sent to a friend of yours, someone who can give you that evaluation, someone you trust, and ask them, can you just evaluate my writing and give me a score out of 10? And that's it. It is very simple. Number 4, speaking, the last one. We will need a partner for this one, but I'd like to point out one thing before we talk about it. I'd like to think of speaking as the second most important skill in any language. The first is listening, and that's my perspective on the matter. I'd like to think of listening as the most important skill ever, not just in terms of language. All right, so speaking. Let's split speaking into two things: fluency and pronunciation. And we will need a partner, like I said. I don't know if I said that or not, but I probably said it. We will need a partner. You're going to speak with them and just again, focus on talking. Pick a topic and just talk to each other. And ask that person to give you an evaluation at the end in terms of fluency. And by fluency, I mean the ability to continue flawlessly, continuously. It doesn't have to be flawlessly. You can make mistakes, you can mispronounce things, you can just say things that are people can't understand. That's fine. Fluency is the ability to talk, right? So just talk. And pronunciation, so we would like to measure both of them. Don't try to pronounce things right, just be normal, just be yourself. That way it's going to be accurate. So ask that person to give you an evaluation of how much you pronounce correctly and how much you do not, and how well you can have a one-to-one conversation without stopping a two-way street conversation. And at the end, now you have your numbers. You have the percentage of each different skill and sub-skill, and then you can tell, generally speaking, my English language skill is that percentage out of 100. But the reason we are doing this, and the reason that I think everybody should do that, even at a very advanced level, is to know what the weaknesses are and what the strengths are. When we know our strengths, we continue practicing to maintain these skills, and for the weaknesses we try to improve on that, right? So try to find out what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are. A quick note at the end: when you try to evaluate any of those skills, you have to remember to focus. If you are measuring your listening skill, focus on listening. Even when you practice, focus on listening. Focus on the skill that you are practicing. It is not easy. I assure you, even at a very high level, it is still not easy to keep your mind focused on the thing that you are doing. So try to always remind yourself by having a note, or by just talking to yourself, or thinking every few seconds that this is what you are doing. Remind yourself every once in a while that this is what I am doing right now and this is what I should be focusing on. And that's it for today, and until next time, peace.